Cedar Point is closing a ride.
It's not the one you think.
Yes, their classic Snake River Falls Arrow Flume ride is bidding farewell Labor Day weekend. So this is back in Frontier Town, one of the few water rides in Cedar Point, and it'll be no more by the end of this year.
Yeah, so this thing's been open for 31 years, opened up in 1993, and they're closing it up. We're not really sure why, but we're gonna guess it's because they're putting something else in its place.
Yeah, and I personally, I don't think this is a ride that really either one of us is gonna miss. I never rode it. It's a very traditional setup where you just have one lift hill, one drop. I'm sure it's nice on a hot day, but the reality is Cedar Point also has a full water park that if you want to cool off, I think a lot of people are probably drifting over there. But it does mean that the only water ride left in Cedar Point now is Thunder Canyon, the rapids.
Yeah, so here's the thing that I'm noticing about Cedar Point is like anything that isn't a coaster, they're like, it's not a priority.
Yep.
If I were to take my best guess, based off of Cedar Point being a coaster park, at the end of the day it is about the roller coasters, I would not be surprised if they replaced this with a water coaster.
Yeah, no, I think that is a great idea because there's a lot that you could do with that, but I do think there's also the potential that they could go with something that is not water related at all because some parks are kind of drifting away from traditional water rides. Like I think about Carowinds, removed all of their water rides. They don't have a single like water ride outside of their water park. So there's also a chance they could just go with like one of those roller coasters that they pitched in that survey a while ago.
Yeah, that is true. Before we get into those, I do want to just talk about the importance of water rides at parks though, because they do get very hot. And for a lot of people, doing those water rides is a great way to cool down. And also, water rides are a great like family attraction. Flumes and rapids and things of that nature that maybe not everyone can agree on a coaster that is to everyone's liking or like thrill threshold that they're willing to go for. So I do think the concept of eliminating water rides across the board at a lot of these parks is not really the smartest idea.
Except for the fact that Snake River Falls has notorious downtime. And what is one thing that you want in a theme park? Reliability.
Yeah.
The fact that this ride has been around for a long time, it's given plenty of rides, and I think they said it's time to bid it farewell and let's put in something more reliable.
So let's talk about the different options. First, acknowledging what amount of space we have to work with here. So Snake River Falls is 420 feet long and about 150 feet wide. So yeah, that's probably give or take a bit. But.
Yeah, exactly. Which, I mean, that is not a huge space. I mean, again, this is literally a lift hill, a drop, and then an area for a big splash. So there's not a ton that you could fit there. And unless we want to replace another ride with a restaurant, then I think they're going to need to look elsewhere for expansion space. There is a big open area just across the waterway near Millennium Force that used to be occupied by that big Frontier Festival thing that they tried out that they closed and now is just sitting abandoned. And if you were to build an attraction that could jump across that waterway, then suddenly you have an even bigger area to work with.
And also in that area is their upcharge attraction, Professor Dilbert's. And in theory, if you were to remove that as well, then you have a really big area of space.
Yeah, there's a ton that you could do there. And you could have that area where Snake River Falls is as your access points, you know, your entryway, build a nice station there. So it just depends on how much they want to take out. I do think that it is a good idea to revitalize that little area of the park. And I think that you could put a good sized roller coaster there, depending on, again, how much you want to remove. I think the big challenge that they would have here is in order to cross that waterway at the shortest point, there's about a 75-foot gap. So from a support structure side of things, you would have to get pretty creative with how you would build that up. And that's if you did it from the shortest span. It would be even longer from other areas. You can see on Google Earth how that would look. Talking about possibilities, we mentioned a mock water coaster. I think this is a great idea, and this is something that Cedar Point directly mentioned in a survey.
Yeah, it is a great way to keep the water aspect alive while still moving towards just putting in more coasters. And I think that the same people that would enjoy a chute the chutes would be fine with doing a mock water coaster.
Sure, and we know that Cedar Point loves their records, and so if they wanted to break the record for the tallest, fastest water coaster, then they would just have to beat out Atlantica's Super Splash, which goes 50 miles per hour, and then there is a water coaster in China that is 101 feet tall, and so as long as they're just a little taller than that, then I think it'd be just fine. So I think that would be a nice fit in Cedar Point.
Yeah, I think so too. Another option is that they don't go with a coaster and they do a different kind of log flume.
Yeah. We saw on a Carowinds survey, they said something like a super flume. That's not a bad idea for Cedar Point. They removed their log flume to put in Maverick, so they'd be putting in a new style attraction. The only hesitation I have there is they did have a previous attraction called Shoot the Rapids, and that unfortunately had an accident that they tore that out after just a couple years. And so, I think that was a prototype, so I wonder if they are not too keen on going with another prototype water ride after that incident.
Yeah, that is fair.
So they could go with something else that was in one of their other surveys. I know that there was a Vekoma tilt coaster as something like that. I think that would be an interesting fit in that specific plot of land.
Over the water.
Yeah, I mean, they could do something cool with that. You know, dress up in like the frontier style theme. It could look cool, but I don't know if that's the most likely option.
They did also have that weird shuttle mock extreme spinner as an option. Still hoping that that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I feel like there's better options that you could do with a mock extreme spinner, but I love
like a regular one.
I love the idea of a mock extreme spinner in the park. And that plot of land is not personally what I envisioned, but I would not be mad about it at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And then they also had this like motorbike style coaster.
Yeah, family thrill.
Cool. It would be cool, you know, I'm picturing it like going over the water and stuff. I think that could be awesome. Actually.
Yeah, I think there's definitely potential for that. And if you are looking for an attraction that would be low to the ground and take up that space, you know, really utilize it, I think that is also a good option. Between all of those, frankly, I don't know which one I would want the most.
I think a water coaster makes the most sense.
Now, I think the next question is then, when would this new attraction open? And if they're closing this ride at Labor Day, they'd need time for demolition plus construction. I personally don't anticipate a new attraction taking its place for the 2025 season.
God, no, they're very focused on Top Thrill 2 right now.
Yes, I think that Top Thrill 2, they're going to push all of their marketing for that for 2025. I could also see them maybe doing a water park expansion, because I remember when we were at Cedar Point over opening weekend, they were ripping out one of their water slide complexes. And so maybe they'll put in something in Cedar Point Shores, and then it'll be like Top Thrill 2 plus that for 2025. So this could be 2026. I think that is very realistic.
That makes more sense.
So this is definitely something to keep your eye on as time goes on. Cedar Point will be posting updates on their blog once especially it gets closer to the actual attraction closing. And I'm sure during Halloween weekends we'll be able to actually watch the ride physically come down, which should be kind of crazy to see, to be honest. That's like an icon of Cedar Point. It'll be weird to see nothing there.
Yeah, it would be kind of weird. An icon that you haven't ridden.
Yeah, I get it. I clearly am not that bothered by this thing closing.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, anyway.
Yeah, let us know down in the comments below what you think of this attraction closing, what you want to see take its place, and of course stay tuned for more here at Coaster Studios, and we'll see you next time.